old in the military intelligence community, and there are still people living who were in that original Stargate project who are teaching it. We learned even from that time and space as we know it is not what we think it is not what we've been taught it is. And in order for remote viewing to work, the ability to locate specific data from the past and to transcend time and space, something that's already happened, our notion of time and space has to be totally different for them to be able to do what they do and go back and gather that information in a manner that's non-psychic. So we know just by that there's evidence that a lot of our understanding of reality is completely off the mark. But even with that knowledge, which is not really all over the world, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean that it's been widely accepted or that enough people know about it and really understand it. So when you talk about ET abduction, and here you are as a hypnotherapist who's supporting people in these experiences, part of the problem is also dealing with their circle of influence, their network of people that are impacting them, that are also not trained. They don't have the experience and don't have the education on how they can be a healing force for these people.
That's exactly right. And one of the biggest problems that I've isolated for many of those having experience is not having the chance or the opportunity to be acknowledged or validated by either their partners or their parents or even their children, almost isolated by them because they all think they're a little bit crazy or a little bit loony and stop talking about this and it's scary. All of those things, they do not have the tools to understand or accept that there's a possibility even that this is a reality, even though the person may wake up with strange marks on their body. Sometimes there's been such things as literally the person being missing from their bed, they've been found outside with all the doors locked, very tangible things that will go with this. The family will be freaked out or scared. They sometimes think it might be demons or whatever, so they get all this judgment around, really all they're wanting to do is say, look, this is what's happening to me. It's real enough for me. I need someone to listen. So, there's so many ways that they're isolated, and that is one of the primary ones is that, sometimes they've told, a brother or sister or mum or partner and ended up in a psychiatric ward.
Dr. John Mack's work, when he went to the children, was it in Africa, Mary?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was actually in Zimbabwe.
Okay, I want to talk about that for a moment because the first time I saw that video was a month ago. And I have to tell you that if we don't listen to the children, 60 kids running into the school saying what they saw, are we going to call kids delusional? Are we going to say that they're schizophrenic? Kids have a pure heart. They call it as they see it. That was so profound. Talk about what happened.
Well, primarily it was a school in Zimbabwe where the children saw a craft landing and beings coming out of it. There was quite a few children at the school that actually saw it. Now, Dr. Mack later went and interviewed them, and their stories were consistent. They explained what they actually drew the craft and the beings. Some of them said they felt very different after they'd actually had the experience of seeing this. And it was really profound in the way that there was no difference in the consistency of the stories. Now, what you may not be aware of, Kim, is there have been similar incidents with schools. One was in the Solomon Islands where a missionary and children in the Solomon Islands saw craft. But there was also one that happened that landed in Adelaide in 1966. It was called the Westall incident. And there a craft landed just outside a playing field in Adelaide. And the children all saw it, including a teacher. But what happened was, and of course this is the difference between the Zimbabwe one and this one, was that it was all, the head teacher was visited. The military came and the whole incident was basically shut down. They were told the children weren't allowed to talk about it. The head teacher basically said to all the children, you are not allowed to mention this anymore. It didn't happen. And these people now are in their middle 40s, and some of them are still traumatized by what they actually saw and the craft. All of that was seen, including one of the teachers, but it was all shut down. In fact, even there was a TV interview done with one of the school children at the time, and that went missing. So much as I don't want to get into the conspiratorial side of this, we do know that a lot is hidden from us. So this is part of the reason so many people struggle to honor their experiences. But with John Mack, he literally interviewed all the children involved in Zimbabwe. And as I say, the stories were consistent. They all spoke about, what they felt when they saw these beings. Some of them felt like they'd had some kind of communication with them, which was really interesting. But more than anything, it was the absolute consistency of each of the children. And the teacher, one of the teachers he interviewed, actually said, look, they've never varied in what they've said. They've always said the same thing about it. And you probably know, Kim, that a lot of my work is with children having encounters. And what I find is absolutely incredible. Young children drawing the craft, a 4-year-old drawing a triangular craft with an energy field around it. Now, what child knows of energy fields? A young boy of 5 that says to his mother, I don't mind going through the walls, and they teach me more on the ships than I learn at school. Now, this is a 5-year-old child talking about his encounters. These are things that children wouldn't, they don't see talk shows. They don't get this on the TV and they don't read books, but they're coming out with information that is very profound and often related to their encounters, which for the most part don't seem to scare them unless they're told to be scared. And that's really important as well. If you invalidate that and say it's not real, then the child is in conflict. So what is real? And that's the difficulty. And when parents come to me and they are concerned about what to do about this, the most important thing is to listen. And if that is real enough for the child to talk about it and articulate it to you, then it's about honoring that. And that is extremely important with the children who are having any form of encounter.
There is a piece of this that I want to talk about, and that is the dynamic in many of the children in Zimbabwe. I say many, meaning a handful that I saw interviewed, talk about that they were afraid. And the thing is that there is something really profoundly, on one level, foreign about this phenomenon when it manifests itself in front of us. And yet, I know that there are different reactions. One is we have to fear them, they're going to hurt us, they're bad, blah, blah. The other one is they're here to make contribution. They're here to bring forth a whole new part of what it means to be alive and to be human that we have no clue about. And yet, the truth is always somewhere in between. And so my question to you is, are you really coming from we shouldn't have any modicum of fear or forbearance? Where do you stand with regard to how we're supposed to view the reality that they're here, that these abductions have happened? Talk about that.
That's a big one, and I'll try and encapsulate it because that's been one of the major questions when people come to me. Now, some of them come to me in absolute terror and fear, and there are others that come to me where, in fact, these different intelligences feel more like family than their own species. And this is the challenging thing for me as a researcher, because primarily the ones that see their own species as more terrifying and more barbaric and more primitive than they do what they feel is their other family out there in the stars, if you like. So the 20 to 25% of those that come to me terrified, feeling they're a victim of their experiences, understandably so, because, they feel very vulnerable. They may be taken, at night. They may be, in fact, taken during the day. This doesn't, it's not true that it's only at night time. Sometimes they can go on a journey and then find they've got missing time where they've had an encounter. Now, with the ones that are traumatized, what I have discovered was when I have taken them into hypnosis, that what they are believed happened may not actually be quite what happened. They only seem to get